Hey folks, welcome back to the show. Today we're diving deep into a world smaller than you can imagine, the world of nanotechnology. It's a world where we manipulate matter at the atomic level, building things atom by atom. Sounds like science fiction, right? Well, it's not. It's here, it's real, and it's changing everything. We're talking about tech so small, you can't even see it with a microscope. It's in your clothes, your food, your medicine. It's powering your smartphones, making your sunscreen more effective. It's even being used to fight cancer. This tiny tech comes with big questions about its impact on our health, the environment, and our freedom. On the one hand, nanotechnology promises a future of incredible advancements. We're talking about curing diseases, reversing aging, even solving the energy crisis. Imagine a world where tiny robots repair damaged cells in your body, or clean up pollution particle by particle. But on the other hand, there's a dark side. A side that whispers of unintended consequences, of government control, of a future where tiny machines could be used against us. If we can build things atom by atom, what's stopping someone from creating invisible weapons or surveillance devices? These aren't just hypothetical questions, folks. These are real concerns voiced by scientists, ethicists, and even government agencies. There's a growing debate about the ethical implications of nanotechnology and the potential risks it poses. Some believe nanotechnology could lead to a dystopian future, where our every move is tracked and our bodies are controlled by microscopic machines. Others believe these fears are overblown, that nanotechnology is a force for good that will ultimately benefit humanity. Today, we're going to unpack these questions and more, exploring the amazing potential and the very real dangers of nanotechnology. All right, let's cut through the sci-fi fog for a second. Nanotechnology might sound like something out of a futuristic thriller, but here's the kicker. You're already using it every single day. Remember that stain-resistant shirt you love? Nanotechnology. That super bright TV screen? Nanotechnology again. Even that sunscreen that lets you tan without burning. You guessed it, nano-sized particles at work. We're talking about manipulating materials at the atomic level, folks, taking advantage of their properties at their absolute smallest to create products that are stronger, lighter, and more effective. Your phone battery lasts longer, your clothes repel wrinkles, and your car gets better gas mileage, all thanks to nanotechnology. It's not some distant future tech, it's already woven into the fabric of our lives. Now, let's talk about the really exciting stuff. Medicine is where nanotechnology is showing its true potential, with the power to revolutionize healthcare as we know it. We're talking about fighting diseases at the cellular level, delivering drugs with pinpoint accuracy, and even regenerating damaged tissues. Imagine microscopic robots, thousands of times smaller than a blood cell, swimming through your bloodstream, seeking out and destroying cancer cells one by one. Or picture this. A diabetic patient, instead of injecting insulin multiple times a day, gets a tiny implant that monitors their blood sugar and releases the exact amount of insulin needed automatically. This isn't science fiction, folks. It's happening right now in labs around the world. Nanotechnology is also paving the way for advanced prosthetics that can interface directly with the nervous system, allowing amputees to control their limbs with their minds. Let's not forget the tech world, where nanotechnology is the driving force behind smaller, faster, and more powerful devices. Your smartphone, your laptop, your gaming console, they all rely on nano-sized transistors and circuits to function. We're talking about cramming billions of transistors onto a chip the size of a fingernail, each one smaller than a virus. This incredible miniaturization is what allows your phone to be a supercomputer in your pocket, capable of browsing the web, streaming videos, and playing games with incredible speed and fidelity. But it's not just about making things smaller, it's about making them better. Nanotechnology is leading to more efficient batteries, brighter screens, and faster processing speeds. And this is just the beginning, folks. As nanotechnology continues to advance, we can expect even more amazing breakthroughs in the tech world. Hold on, folks, because before we get too carried away with all the shiny promises of nanotechnology, Let's talk about the elephant in the room, the potential downsides. Because like any powerful tool, nanotech has a dark side, a side with risks we can't afford to ignore. Scientists are the first to admit that we're venturing into uncharted territory here. Manipulating matter at the atomic level, it's messing with the very building blocks of our world. One major concern is the toxicity of nanoparticles. Some of these tiny particles, the ones engineered for specific purposes, can be incredibly reactive. They might be harmless in a lab setting. But what happens when they're released into the environment, into our water supply, into the air we breathe? We're conducting a giant experiment on ourselves and our planet without even realizing it. Nanopollution. Now let's talk about nanopollution. Remember those super strong, super durable nanomaterials I mentioned earlier? The ones in our clothes, our gadgets, our cars? Well, they don't just disappear when we're done with them. They break down, they degrade, and they end up in our landfills, our oceans, even in the air we breathe. And because they're so small, they can easily penetrate our skin, our lungs, even the blood-brain barrier. Scientists are worried that these nanoparticles could wreak havoc on ecosystems, disrupting delicate balances and harming wildlife. Studies on animals have shown that exposure to certain nanoparticles can lead to lung damage, inflammation, even cancer. The concern is the long-term impact, the slow burn of constant exposure to these invisible particles. Our bodies invaded. But here's where things get really interesting. And by interesting, I mean downright unsettling. Because some people believe that the risks of nanotechnology go way beyond environmental damage and potential health hazards. We're talking about fears of government control, of microscopic surveillance devices implanted in our bodies without our knowledge or consent. Think about it. If we can create nanoparticles that can target specific cells in the body, what's stopping someone from creating nanoparticles that can target specific areas of the brain? Now, I'm not saying this is definitely happening, but the technology is there, folks. We're talking about a whole new breed of weapons, folks. Weapons that make drones look like toys, invisible to the naked eye, but potentially more destructive than a nuclear bomb. Imagine a swarm of microscopic robots, each carrying a lethal payload. Released into the air, they could target specific individuals, even penetrate buildings. No explosion, no collateral damage, just a silent, invisible killer. Sounds like science fiction, right? The military has been pouring billions into nanotechnology research for years. They're looking for the next generation of warfare, and nanobots could be it. Think about it, a weapon that leaves no trace behind. Let's talk about surveillance. We live in a world where our every move is already tracked by cameras, by our phones, by our internet activity. But what if I told you that the next generation of surveillance could be happening at the nanoscale? Imagine microscopic sensors, so small they could be sprinkled like dust, embedded in paint, even injected into your bloodstream. Sensors that could monitor your location, your conversations, even your thoughts 24/7. Now I know what you're thinking. This sounds like something out of a dystopian novel, but think about the technology we already have. Facial recognition software, predictive policing algorithms. Now, let's dive into the really freaky stuff, because some people believe that nanotechnology isn't just about building smaller devices or creating more powerful weapons. They believe it's about something far more profound, re-engineering life itself. We're talking about nanobioengineering, folks, the ability to manipulate the building blocks of life at the atomic level, to create new life forms, to enhance existing ones, to blur the lines between biology and technology in ways we can barely imagine. On the surface, this technology has incredible potential. Now, I'm not saying any of this is definitely happening, but I am saying that these are questions we need to be asking, because the truth is we don't know the full extent of what's possible with nanotechnology, and we don't know who's controlling it. There's a whole movement of people out there, folks, who believe that the government is already using nanotechnology for nefarious purposes. They call themselves the targeted individuals, and they claim to be victims of government harassment and experimentation using advanced nanotech. They talk about being tracked by invisible drones, bombarded with electromagnetic frequencies, even having their thoughts controlled by implanted microchips. Now, I know this all sounds pretty out there, but I've talked to some of these people, folks, and I'm telling you, they believe it. All right, folks, let's take a deep breath and step back from the edge of the rabbit hole for a second. I know we just went down a wild ride of government conspiracies and sci-fi scenarios, but let's bring in some much-needed rationality. It's time to separate the science fact from the science fiction. First off, let's address the elephant in the room, the idea of self-replicating nanobots turning the world into grey goo. This apocalyptic scenario, while popularized by some futurists, is just not scientifically plausible with our current understanding of nanotechnology. We're nowhere near creating nanobots that can replicate themselves like bacteria, let alone consume the entire planet. The energy requirements alone would be astronomical, and frankly, scientists have zero interest in creating something that could potentially wipe out humanity. That's just bad for business. Pause 5S. Now let's dive into a topic that's as controversial as it is compelling. This chapter validates the experiences and concerns of individuals who believe they are targeted by nanotechnology. These are real people with real fears, and their stories deserve to be heard. Pause 3S. Meet Jane, a former tech employee who claims she's been targeted by nanobots after whistleblowing on her company. Jane describes feeling constant surveillance, unexplained physical sensations, and a sense of being controlled. She's not alone. Communities have formed online where people share similar experiences, swapping stories and evidence, hoping to find validation and answers. Pause 3S. But what about the evidence? Many of these individuals present medical scans, unexplained health issues, and even physical samples they believe are nanobots. The scientific community, however, remains skeptical. Experts argue that while these symptoms are real and distressing, they often have more plausible explanations rooted in known medical conditions or psychological phenomena. Pause 3S. This isn't to dismiss the fears or experiences of those who feel targeted. It's crucial to approach these stories with empathy and a desire to understand. At the same time, it's essential to rely on rigorous scientific investigation to separate fact from fiction. The challenge lies in finding a balance, acknowledging the fears while seeking the truth. Pause 3S. This chapter aims to provide a balanced view, acknowledging the fears and seeking to understand the truth behind these allegations. Because at the end of the day, everyone deserves to have their voice heard and their concerns taken seriously. Pause 5S. Now let's move on to the ethical labyrinth that awaits us. Okay, so maybe we're not on the verge of a nanotech apocalypse or a government-controlled dystopia, but that doesn't mean we're out of the woods yet, because the real challenges of nanotechnology aren't about killer robots or mind control, they're about ethics. Here's the thing, nanotechnology gives us the power to manipulate the building blocks of life itself. And with that power comes a tremendous responsibility, a responsibility to use this technology wisely, ethically, and for the benefit of all humankind. We're talking about questions like who gets access to these technologies, who benefits from them, who decides how they're used, what are the ethical implications of enhancing human capabilities, of creating artificial life, of manipulating the human genome. These are questions that scientists, ethicists, policymakers, and yes, even podcast hosts are grappling with right now, because the decisions we make today will shape the future of nanotechnology and its impact on our world. So folks, where do we land on this wild ride through the nano world? Are we staring down the barrel of a dystopian future, controlled by microscopic robots and shadowy government agencies? Or is nanotechnology the key to a brighter future, filled with medical marvels and technological wonders? The truth, as always, lies somewhere in between. There's no denying the incredible potential of nanotechnology. We've seen glimpses of it already in the medical breakthroughs, the technological advancements, the everyday products that make our lives easier, but we can't ignore the risks either. The potential for environmental damage, health problems, even weaponization. Like any powerful tool, nanotechnology can be used for good or evil. It all depends on who's wielding it and what their intentions are. The challenge we face is finding the right balance, embracing the potential of nanotechnology while mitigating the risks. ensuring that this powerful tool is used responsibly, ethically, and for the benefit of all humankind. The future is now choosing our destiny. This isn't just a job for scientists and policymakers. This is a conversation we all need to be having. The future of nanotechnology is something we're creating right now through our choices. Do we demand transparency, accountability, and ethical guidelines? The choices we make today will determine the world we leave behind, a world where nanotechnology improves our lives, or a world where it's used to control and harm us. Stay informed, ask questions. The future is in our hands. The future is in